To the deep dive. If you're tuning in, chances are you're grappling with a pretty hefty book, Fyodor Dostoyevsky's Crime and Punishment. See you on reading lists everywhere, high school, college.
Yeah, all the time. And let's be honest, that title, plus the size of the thing, it can feel a bit daunting, maybe even like a punishment itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But seriously, there's so much packed in there. So think of this as your audio study guide. We've dug into parts of the novel, some bits about Dostoevsky too, to pull out the core stuff you need. Our mission, basically, is to give you a clear rundown, key characters, the main conflicts driving the plot, and, the big themes Dostoevsky tackles.
Ready to jump in.
Let's do it. Where better to start than with the man himself, Rodion Raskolnikov.
Right, Raskolnikov. So we meet him. He's a former student, just completely crushed by poverty, debt. And it's not just him. His family is counting on him too, right?
Exactly. That financial pressure is huge. It's really pressing down on him. And it's key to understanding his whole mindset as the story begins. And it's under that pressure that his thoughts get, dark. He starts thinking about this hideous dream, he calls it, something he even tries to frame as an exploit. You feel that internal conflict brewing.
You really do. It's like he's testing the waters in his own mind. The book shows him sort of rehearsing his plan, this project. There's this chilling momentum building up.
Yeah, leading to that visit to the pawnbroker, Alyona Ivanovna. It's almost like he's drawn there against his better judgment.
And that description of her, just the door cracking open, her little eyes glittering in the darkness, it tells you so much about her, the distrust.
Totally. He pawns this old watch, but it's afterwards. He just kind of hangs around. It feels like he's hesitating, maybe looking for an out, but he's already started down this path.
And then that seemingly casual question about her sister, Lizaveta.
Yes. Seems minor, but wow, does that become significant later?
Huge foreshadowing. And even before the act itself, you see his isolation, like when he runs into Marmeladov in the tavern.
Right. He has this flicker of wanting company, but then Marmeladov starts talking, and boom, that habitual, irritable aversion for any stranger just slams down.
Yeah, it really shows how cut off he is, even before he commits the crime. He's already living inside his own head, mostly.
So he's already psychologically walled off, and then he does it, the murders. Not just Alyona, but Lizaveta too, who just happens to walk in.
Which completely derails any twisted logic he might have built up. The aftermath is just brutal. He's sick, delirious, paranoid. Someone will find out. Nastasia, the servant, she's kind of looking after him, but he's spiraling.
And while he's in this state, physically and mentally falling apart, these justifications start popping up in his head. He starts thinking of Alyona as a louse, like killing her was just getting rid of a pest.
It's self-deception on a grand scale, isn't it? Trying desperately to make the horrific seem logical, almost necessary. It's a really disturbing look at how people rationalize terrible things.
Which connects directly to that article he wrote, the one he ends up discussing with Porfiry Petrovich, the investigator.
Yes, the article. The core of his whole twisted philosophy, really. This idea of ordinary versus extraordinary people.
Explain that a bit. What's the gist?
Well, basically, Raskolnikov argues that certain exceptional individuals, the extraordinary ones, have the right, maybe even the duty, to transgress laws, even commit violence if it serves some higher purpose, if it moves humanity forward.
Wow. And Porfiry, the investigator. How does he react?
Porfiry is sharp. He picks up on the implications immediately. He's horrified by the idea, especially the part about bloodshed in all conscience. He sees the danger in that kind of thinking right away. It's a fantastic intellectual sparring match between them.
It really is. Okay, shifting gears slightly, let's talk about his family. His mother, Pulcheria Alexandrovna, and his sister, Dunya. His reaction to Dunya's engagement to Luzhin is intense.
Very intense. He absolutely despises Luzhin. He sees him as this calculating, arrogant guy who basically wants to buy Dunya to have power over her because of her difficult situation.
So he sees it as another sacrifice she's making for the family, maybe for him.
Exactly. Another echo of the kind of exploitation he theoretically opposes, but he's trying to stop it while having committed this monstrous act himself. It's deeply ironic. His talks with his mother later are just heart-wrenching, full of guilt and that need to confess but also protect her.
And then, Sonia Marmeladova. She feels like the absolute counterpoint to everything dark in him.
Completely. Sonia is, well, she's the moral core, maybe.
Yeah.
Forced into prostitution by her family's desperate poverty, yet she holds on to this profound religious faith and deep compassion.
That scene where she reads the story of Lazarus to him, It's so iconic.
Incredibly powerful. It's the first real glimmer of hope for him, the possibility of resurrection, of coming back from the spiritual death he's in. She offers him this unconditional acceptance despite knowing or suspecting what he's done.
Her influence is transformative, isn't it? Even though it takes a long time.
Oh, absolutely. It's not instant. When he first gets sent to penal servitude in Siberia, the book makes it clear he doesn't feel remorse. Not really.
Right. It's more like wounded pride. Like he failed his own test of being extraordinary.
Precisely. He's angry he got caught, angry he wasn't strong enough by his own warped standards. The real moral awakening, the possibility of redemption, that starts slowly, largely because Sonia follows him there, because of her constant, patient love.
Okay, let's quickly run through some of the other people caught in Raskolnikov's orbit. We mentioned Alyona Ivanovna, the pawnbroker.
Yes, the initial target. Symbol of the louse he thinks he can just eliminate. Old, distrustful, hoarding wealth.
And her sister, Lizaveta Ivanovna. Such a different figure.
Totally different. Described as tall, clumsy, timid, basically her sister's servant beaten down. Her accidental murder just blows Raskolnikov's whole justification apart. She was harmless, innocent.
And Sonia was friends with her, right?
Yeah, which adds another layer. It connects Sonia's compassion directly to the victims of his crime.
Then there's Marmelados, Sonia's father, the clerk Raskolnikov meets in the tavern.
Marmeladov, his drunken confession is just devastating. Laying bare the family's poverty, Sonia's sacrifice, his own failings, he embodies that crushing weight of social despair.
His death really throws the family into chaos, especially his wife, Katerina Ivanovna.
Katerina Ivanovna, a really complex character. Proud, tubercular, prone to these dramatic outbursts, desperately trying to maintain dignity amidst squalor. Remember that scene where she makes her kids perform in the street?
Oh, heartbreaking. And that moment where she kisses Sonia's feet, so much raw emotion. Her story is just tragic.
Utterly tragic. It really hammers home the theme of poverty and its devastating effects.
Okay, on a slightly brighter note, maybe. Razumihin, Raskolnikov's friend.
Yes. Razumihin is great. Loyal, practical, genuinely concerned. He's like this anchor of decency and common sense in the middle of all the darkness and psychological turmoil. A true friend.
And he eventually connects with Dunya, doesn't he?
He does, offering a potential future that's much healthier than what Luzhin represented.
Speaking of Luzhin, Pyotr Petrovich, Dunya's fiancé, the one Raskolnikov couldn't stand.
Right. The pragmatic, arrogant, self-serving suitor. He thinks he's doing Dunya a favor. His attempt to frame Sonia later on just shows how low he'll stoop.
Then there's the really enigmatic figure, Arkady Ivanovich Svidrigailov.
Ooh, Svidrigailov. A very unsettling character. Morally ambiguous, connected to Dunya's past in a disturbing way. There are dark rumors about him. He sort of represents pure cynicism, maybe. But then he does that strangely generous act for Sonia.
He's like a dark mirror to Raskolnikov in some ways, isn't he?
Yeah.
But without the internal struggle.
That's a good way to put it. He seems to have crossed lines Raskolnikov only theorized about, but feels empty. His eventual suicide is shocking, but maybe not entirely surprising given his character.
And we mentioned Porfiry Petrovich, the investigator.
The master psychologist. He plays these incredible mind games with Raskolnikov, understanding his guilt and his intellectual pride. He doesn't just rely on evidence, he understands the criminal.
He kind of
lets
Raskolnikov confess in the end.
Almost nudges him towards it. It's a fascinating approach to law and justice within the novel.
One last character that mentioned briefly, Nikolai the painter.
Right. The one who initially confesses to the murders. It throws a wrench in the investigation for a bit, shows the psychological pressure cooker the crime created in the community, maybe some kind of religious fervor or misplaced guilt.
Okay, so that's the cast of characters, more or less. Let's zoom out to the big picture. The themes, the psychology of crime is obviously huge here.
Front and center. Dostoyevsky basically dissects Raskolnikov's mind. The justifications, the theory, and then the psychological fallout. The paranoia, the guilt, the alienation. It's an incredible exploration of a mind unraveling after crossing a terrible line.
And woven through all of this is the theme of poverty and social inequality.
Absolutely. It's not just wallpaper. The Marmeladov's desperation, Raskolnikov's own struggles, Dunya's potential marriage to Luzhin. These aren't just plot points. They're driving forces. Dostoyevsky is showing how these societal conditions can push people to extremes.
But it's not all bleak. There's that strong theme of redemption, of salvation, mostly through Sonia.
Yes. Sonia embodies that possibility. Her faith, her compassion, they offer Raskolnikov a path back. It suggests redemption is possible, but it comes through suffering, acceptance, confession, and crucially through human connection and love. not through intellectual theories.
Which ties into the whole conflict between morality and conscience, right?
Yeah.
His ideas versus that inner feeling.
Exactly. His intellect tells him one thing based on his theory, but his conscience, his innate sense of right and wrong, is screaming something else. That internal battle is relentless. He can't escape his own humanity, his own moral sense, no matter how hard he tries to rationalize it away.
And finally, it's not really a simple story of good versus evil, is it?
Not at all. Dostoevsky's characters are incredibly complex, full of contradictions. Raskolnikov does monstrous things, but we see his suffering, his potential for good. Sonia is saintly in some ways, but forced into prostitution. Svidrigailov is depraved, but capable of generosity. It's all very gray, very human.
Before we wrap up, it feels worth mentioning Dostoevsky's own life briefly. That Siberian prison experience must have fed into this.
Oh, undoubtedly. His arrest, the mock execution, the years of hard labor in Siberia, that experience profoundly shaped his views on suffering, faith, guilt, and the potential for human transformation even in the darkest circumstances. You feel the weight of that experience in the novel, particularly in the epilogue.
His own financial struggles, too, probably added to the realism of Raskolnikov's and the Marmeladov situations.
For sure. He often wrote under intense pressure to pay off debts. And yet, despite all that hardship, he achieved this incredible status later in life, that love and honor mentioned around his Pushkin speech. It shows how deeply his work resonated.
Okay, so recapping this deep dive, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
this gives you a solid handle on crime and punishment. We've hit the main characters, their conflicts, the big themes like crime psychology, poverty, redemption, morality.
It's a lot to take in, but these are the core elements. Keep them in mind as you read or review the book. It's really about these profound questions Dostoevsky raises about human nature, about society, about finding meaning after making terrible mistakes.
Absolutely. And to leave you with something to think about, something maybe to discuss in class or just ponder, Raskolnikov had his justifications, his theory about extraordinary people. Where do you personally draw the line between someone exceptional and someone criminal? And how much does conscience, that inner voice, really matter in drawing that line?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It stays with you.
It really does. We hope this has been helpful for your studies or just your understanding of this classic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.